Introducing our next panel is our new executive director, Susan Phillips. Susan joined us earlier this summer and is really coming in with a very dynamic vision to help us continue to grow and shape the chamber in new ways. And we're really excited that she has joined our team. And so I'm going to hand it over to Susan Phillips to take us into our next panel, which is, starting to get into actual business opportunities where you can remain profitable while being sustainable and doing everything you can to help us build a better world through business.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Neil. I appreciate that, and I echo her sentiments in just thanking all of the speakers today. Diane, of course, Robert, Meghna, and Oric. I mean, your insights were on point, and you have certainly set the bar high in the ESG space, and you've given us a lot to think about and aspire to. So we're hoping that business owners will take steps to apply these best practices in their own organizations. And as we move into the next section of our event, which is doing business better, it's a procurement panel discussion. I'd like to introduce our esteemed moderator, Mr. Roshan Vani, co-founder and COO of Nexus PMG. And his role at Nexus PMG, he works with clients comprised of large infrastructure funds, PE firms, and commercial banks seeking additional deal flow and post-investment services. Roshan is a solution-focused executive with more than 15 years of success across the construction industry. His areas of expertise include leadership, risk analysis, business development and strategy, cash flow forecasting, process improvement, and procurement. Welcome, Roshan. We are so excited to have you today.
Thanks, Susan. I appreciate the intro. In general, thank you to the Chamber for having me as your moderator. I'm excited to jump in and learn more about our panelists, the companies, and some of the opportunities that exist for small and medium-sized business. Before we get started, I just wanted to add a little bit more about me. I'm, as stated, the co-founder of Nexus PMG. We're a renewable infrastructure developer and advisory firm based here in Dallas, Texas, and a member of the Chamber. We dabble in wind and solar markets, but our primary focus is in alternative energies, such as renewable natural gas, combined heat and power, renewable ag, synthetic and biofuels, and insect proteins. So just kind of coming off the last panel, it's interesting to hear this becoming a center part of discussion on panels like this. So really just generally our businesses focus on converting waste streams from industrial and agriculture into valuable byproducts. But I'm honored to lead this discussion as our current business is 100% focused on the private sector. Our panelists today will bring a public sector perspective. Our discussion today will be focused on sustainability and procurement. As we just talked about, organizations are in the process of setting their ESG goals. And the previous panel just really deep dive into this. So we'll stay focused on the procurement aspect. But, I think one thing I do want to state is ESG is and will continue to be a major market driver. I also want to reiterate, as the previous panel talked about, ESG is more than simply quote unquote going green. New and mature environmental, social, governance programs alike, they're all facing the challenge of effectively implementing and sourcing vendors and suppliers to meet their environmental goals, but also support not just the environmental goals, but social and governance responsibilities to ensure that their business practices are truly sustainable. Responsible sourcing has to make a positive impact within the organizations that they serve, as well as the communities. So, sourcing that supports different groups of people will open up more opportunities for inclusion, and obviously when adopted at scale will have a global impact. Before introducing the panel, I just want to quickly elaborate a little bit more on procurement and sourcing. I think procurement has a unique view into sustainability issues and potential risks in the supply chain. Procurement officers and professionals are tasked to implement corporate strategies set by company leadership and are really tracking the metrics that are established to prioritize and align business goals. So, By shaping, communicating, and executing the ESG agenda, procurement processes will be able to cement sustainability in an instrumental pillar within their company's ESG strategy. Myself personally, effectively identifying where you are now and where you need to be is really the first step in building an integrated ESG program. As the COO of Nexus PMG, I live and breathe this every day, from our hiring practices to the projects we decide to take on. For me, when we sat down in 2014 and really outlined our move away from traditional energy and going really into the alternative energy segment, it was really clear on what the next steps were. It was identifying the resources we had, and then what resources we needed to procure to ensure we were meeting our short, mid, and long-term goals. In general, stakeholders involved in sustainability, supply chain, human capital, and ethics and compliance will be key contributors to how business is conducted in the future. It's these folks that will help define scope, key target metrics, and how resources will be utilized. So, ESG practices are becoming a consistent key performance indicator, or KPI, instead of just an ad hoc exercise. So anyway, we'll get to it, and looking forward to what our panel has to say. So bringing it all back together, our focus today will be on reinforcing company purpose through procurement strategy. Really excited to have a discussion with this distinguished panel. Each of their organizations that they represent have adopted sustainability into their business practices in more ways than one. The contracts that are available now or in the future may not be branded or identified clearly as sustainable, but they do meet the definition of ESG or sustainability. So really looking forward to dive into it. So first, I'd like to introduce Bryant Shah from Dallas Independent School District, or DISD. Bryant has worked for DISD most of his adult life, serving as an HVAC technician, custodian, teacher, coach, and school principal. He has spent extended periods of time in the United Kingdom and Norway, so given him the opportunity to witness how both countries integrate sustainability into their growth models. In 2019, Bryant came out of retirement to lead Dallas ISD's in energy management and sustainability department and assist in reframing district policies on energy, water, and waste. So we're looking forward to the discussion with Bryant today, as well as getting into some of their waste reduction initiatives and goals, energy reduction plans, and their minority women-based enterprise programs. So Bryant, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Good morning, Roshan.
Morning, bud. Next is Claribel Diaz, the hub coordinator for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, or TCEQ. I think I'm going to go with TCEQ going forward. Claribel was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and moved to Austin at an early age. Her dad received a great job opportunity to work in Austin with one of the engineers he used to work for in Puerto Rico. Her mother retired as a state government employee in Puerto Rico. After attending college, Claribel decided to seek a job in state government, and during that job search, she was given an opportunity to work at the TCEQ, where she has been the past 22 years. She has been in the Office of Administration Services and Financial Administration Division's Hub program for many years and has played a key role in the success of the agency's Hub program. We'll be getting into multiple topics with the TCEQ, which include their recycling programs, waste management practices, along with discussing aspects of their Hub program. Claribel, thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you.
Morning. Last but not least is Greg Obar, Senior Director for Strategic Sourcing and Hub Coordinator for the University of North Texas. Greg leads strategic sourcing, contracts management, and historically underutilized business program on behalf of the UNT Systems campuses and UNT System Administration. Greg brings 30 years of experience leading people and managing processes to his role at UNT. Prior to joining the UNT system, he served 24 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, including 10 years overseas, during which he served a variety of roles, including infantry, military intelligence, and human resource officer. Greg holds a master's degree in management and leadership and human resource development, and is a certified Texas contract developer and contract manager. Today, we will explore UNT's Hub program, We Mean Green initiative, along with learning more about their LEED certified stadiums and buildings. Greg, thank you for being here, and thank you for your service.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to join you and to speak about such important stuff.
So without further delay, let's get started. My first question will be to all three of you, and how about we just go in order of presentation? So we'll have Bryant go first. So each of your organizations have procurement initiatives such as Hub or Minority Women-Based Enterprise Programs, which focus on providing contract opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses. Share with us how this has impacted your business, the community, and all stakeholders.
Well, Roshan, Dallas Independent School District is the second largest public school system in Texas. Definitely top 20 in the nation. That slides up and down. We have over 145,000 students currently enrolled as of September, 70.1% being Hispanic, 20.2% being African American. We have a very, very strong MWBE program. And it shouldn't come as a surprise that many of our parents and grandparents and graduates of our schools are participants in the WBE program. This is right in line with an emerging theme we've seen this year of Dallas ISD being home. So we're unique in that, being a public entity, we have stakeholder engagement that goes far beyond PTA or an opportunity to speak to the board. So like I said, it's a unique situation, and the community definitely is benefiting from it.
Claribel, same question to you. Happy to repeat it if you like.
Yes, please repeat, Roshan.
Absolutely. So each of your organizations have procurement initiatives such as Hub or Minority Women-Based Enterprise Programs, which focus on providing contract opportunities for minority women-owned businesses. Share with us how this has impacted your business, the community, and all stakeholders.
TCEQ is one of the agencies that have implemented the statewide Hub program, which is it's mandated by the state of Texas. CPA, which is a Texas Controllers of Public Accounts, is the one in charge of the program. However, TCEQ is one of those agencies that have implemented, like I stated before, the program, and we really do care about ensuring there are prime contractors utilize active subcontractors within our contracts. It helps those small businesses participate in our contracts, and it's good for them to show what they can do. Just like big companies, they do work together with our contractors. So therefore, our agency has many contracts, most of them in engineering services, and you can see around the state of Texas that TCEQ do care about. We do care about the Hub program, and it has helped with our numbers and the Hub participation. As a matter of fact, we are, for the fiscal year 20, we are number 3 with the agency spending more than $5 million, I should say, I'm sorry, $5 million with active hubs.
Wonderful, thank you. Greg?
Yeah, hi. So this was my very first role with UNT World, and so it's very near and dear to my heart, and it is still a large part of what I do, and I'm blessed to have that rolled into a larger portfolio of responsibilities that allow me to integrate them, and I'll mention that in a second. But by most counts, by most metrics, we have the top higher ed Hub and MWBE programs within the state, and we're very, very proud of that. And we're also at the very top statewide, whether it's higher ed or not. So we believe in investing in spending with and partnering with small, diverse suppliers, or small suppliers at large that reflect the student body within our schools. All of our schools, our med school, our law school, our our flagship in Denton and our fast growing school in Dallas are all minority majority serving schools. And so that is part of the culture ingrained within us. And so it's very nice to be a part of that. And so, as one part of that, and this goes into the sustainability that we'll talk a bit about more later, although this is really a part of that is we have NWBE firms, hub firms. They either lead or they are a big part of all of the construction work we have throughout UNT world, and they're either the prime or they're a top level trade. And so we're very pleased about that, and that is almost 100% of the jobs around with us are that way. And as I alluded to before, the fact that the RFPs and all of the contracts and hub reports up to my department, what that helps me do is bring in an MWBE perspective and advocacy at the very beginning instead of at the end. So at some point in time, you see where the RFP has a scope created before they get an MWBE supporting mindset. And so it's very important that, this is one of the very, smart moves that our CFO has made in the last few months, is to merge them all into one team and have MWBE goals for our entire procurement office and not just for the supplier diversity team.
Thank you. That's really interesting. Almost leading to the next question. Greg, I'll just keep it with you. This is a question to everyone. So, do you have set ESG related goals that you're measuring against as those metrics roll up to you?
So as of right now, so when we look at sustainability, it's more than just MWBE, right? It's the other stuff we talked about, LEED and environmental sustainability, et cetera. We don't have set goals in that part of it. We don't have green goals yet. We have green, we aspire to be more green, and there's a lot of things that I could talk about of all of the stuff that we're doing to be green. I mean, we were named a green school by the Princeton Review. We have the first LEED Platinum Stadium in the US of A. We're the first Energy Star certified building in the state, and we're certified as a bee school, and B is BEE because they mean the actual bees that fly around and they pollinate the flowers, because we support that. And so we have a mission, and that's to to work together to increase awareness of environmental, economic, and social challenges, but we don't have hard numeric goals there yet. Where we do have goals is in our hub, our utilization of suppliers whom are MWBE, and those are goals that are set by the state. And we've been very successful the last five years in meeting or exceeding those goals.
Awesome, thank you. Claribel, same question to you.
Yes, TCEQ, in regards to environmental, well, we are the agency that it's pretty much the small EPA for the state of Texas. The mission is, protect our state, public health and natural resources. However, our goal is really mainly, we don't have numbers, but it's really mainly clean air, clean water, and the safe management of waste. In regards to the HUB program, and we also have the DBE program because we obtain EPA federal funding, therefore we have grants. We adopted the statewide hub goals for our procurement contracts, different contracts that we have. Therefore, the statewide hub program has different procurement categories and goals, and our main ones are within other services. Therefore, we do, most of the time, I have to say we got different procurement contracts within TCEQ. We do not have construction, but we do have professional services. We have other services and commodities. The professional services, since we don't have that many, we do have engineering services, but they are not all in engineering services. Therefore, we are always kind of trying to meet that goal, which is 23.7. And then for the other services, we never have any issues with that procurement category goal, which is 26%. We always exceed that. CPA understands that some of the contracts within different, of course, different agencies, you may or may not be able to meet it due to the type of contract that we have. Example, construction, we don't have construction. Therefore, we are always trying in commodities, that's never a question. We always have exceeded the commodities. So our main ones are in other services, professional services, and commodities. And we are always trying to meet or exceed every year, since we also report on a semi-annual and annual basis to CPA. It's the same thing with MEBs and WEBs. The DBE program is implemented at TCEQ. We always try to meet the goals that the EPA DBE program has. So we're always trying, just like Greg said, every time that there's a solicitation that is going to go out on a bid, we review the scope of work to ensure that there will be subcontracting opportunities available for MEBs or hubs.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting and key metrics there for sure. Bryant, same question to you for DISD. You're on mute.
Thank you, Roshan. Knew I'd do that. The very nature of our educational goals requires that we have social and governance goals, but we, until recently, haven't been really strong on our environmental goals. In February of 2020, the school board passed a resolution creating a committee made up of stakeholders, both internal district stakeholders and external. And for about 9 months, we met and came up with some recommendations, some policies, and some goals that were presented to the board last April. They're going to be voted on this month, and things look good. I'll share some of those goals with you. To divert landfill contribution by 75% by 2030. Utilize 100% compostable plates, trash bags, and utensils by 2027. Adhere to CHIPS and LEED Silver standards for all new construction by 2025. Those new constructions should also be built net zero ready. The planting of native and adaptive shrubs and herbaceous plants on all Dallas ISD grounds. A 20% tree canopy cover throughout the district, with the anticipation is to grow that. Limiting synthetic fertilizers, maintain schedules for HVAC replacement filters, 100% renewable sources required for all future district electricity contracts, and the determination of baseline energy usage for all schools and identify ways to reduce that consumption, as well as sharing the monthly energy usage and annual reports on electricity and water usage. So things are looking good in terms of the E and the ESGs, and we're looking forward to finding thought partners and just contractual partners. Thank you.
No, that's great. It's great to hear you talk about soil health. That's something that's near and dear to me. So I could go on and on about that, but I won't. So the next question, Claribel, is directed at you for TCEQ. Recycling will always be a big part of the environmental conversation. Tell us more about your recycling and waste management programs and how businesses can take advantage of them. You have open contracts in architecture, engineering, and structural service areas. Are there components in these contracts that are considered sustainable?
Okay, I do not work in the recycling team. So I can only provide the information that I was provided by them. And it's stated they do follow the rule, which is a state Texas administrative rule. It would be Texas Administrative Rule number 30, subchapter K, and the rule number, I can also write it down in the chat, is 328.200. And it talks about a governmental entity to create a recycling program and provide preference for purchasing recycled materials. We do have, of course, a recycling program at TCEQ, and there will be more information about that in the link that I will also provide. But some of the notes that they stated were, a lot of people ask, how can we help with recycling? Well, they mentioned you can choose safer or less toxic products. You can share the information about recycling with your neighbors, friends, and family. Bring reusable bags whenever you go shopping. Purchase items such as dish soap and laundry detergent in concentrated forms. And of course, buy items that are made out of recycled content. They do have more information about the recycling program at the TCEQ site, and I will provide that link for you. But I do want to mention one program that a lot of people do not know that we have. It's called the Texas Emission Reduction Plan, which is a TERP program. The TERP program offers grants for new and upgraded equipment to reduce pollution and improve the air quality in Texas. Each of the grants has specific eligibility requirements and may have different application periods. These are grants that we have in which we are able to assist a vendor. For example, their business has trucks, and if their vehicle trucks, they got to be trucks, has a certain amount, certain size of engine, and it's given a lot of pollution out in the air of around the state of Texas, he or she is able to apply for that grant. And what it is the money will be used into replacing that old grant with an old engine with a new engine. And this is something that is very important, and it has helped around the state of Texas. Again, I have the link for this particular reduction plan program, which will assist a lot of businesses.
Thank you. That TERP program sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to reading that. Just out of curiosity, do EVs and Ford Lightnings count as a replacement engine, or?
Any vendors, num hubs, active hubs, num MEBs or weebies, any vendors, they will have to apply to see if they qualify. They have to be in a certain location of the state of Texas, their business, and also the size of the engines.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay, moving on. Next one, Bryant, for you. One of your environmental goals is to reduce waste by 50% and reduce energy consumption in the next few years. I know you touched on it briefly, but can you tell us how you're planning to reach that goal, and maybe elaborate on how there are opportunities for businesses to work with you to help achieve that goal?
Sure. These are wide open fields for us. Our horizons expanding with as we gather more information about the ESGs. As I said, some of our practices within maintenance and facilities, I think Mr. Crow touched on it in his opening. We adhere to some of the older practices regarding maintenance and facilities. So once again, a call for thought partners and any kind of information, anyone willing to help. But I would say that much like our committee created by the Board of Trustees, our efforts to reduce landfill contribution has been grassroots. About, I'd say, April of last year, about the time we went before the board, I started to really get calls from people and emails from principals and teachers and environmental club sponsors from around the city in the schools wanting to know about recycling programs beginning this school year. So we've started great guns beginning the school year with getting all of our supplies out to the schools, trying to set everyone up for success, training our our personnel on site in how to handle the recyclables without contamination. And then we've picked one of our high schools, Woodrow Wilson High School, as a pilot program. They want to participate. They hope to come up with to organize a recycle Olympics for the entire school district, and so create some friendly competition amongst the schools at the elementary, middle school, and high school level. So in terms of energy, we're really proud of the fact that we are the largest public school district in the United States to use 100% wind-sourced electricity. Our current contract extends through to 2030, so we're really proud of that. One of the things we've been doing over the past 2 years is a close audit of our energy management system and our controls, and making sure that our set points for each HVAC system are at optimal levels. They haven't always been that case. We're really looking at usage beyond school hours and on weekends. We're also participating in the ERCOT and Reliant NRG peak demand programs, which is really helping in terms of our cost.
That's great to hear. Greg, next question's over to you. And I saw some in the chat around the football stadium. So your football stadium was the first college stadium in the US to be LEED certified. Since then, you've had several other green projects such as UNT Health Science Center building and grounds in Fort Worth. What projects are available now or in the future that could be considered sustainable as a whole or in part? UNT has been a strong supporter of the We Mean Green initiative. Has this initiative had or impacted your suppliers? Perhaps this would motivate the suppliers to provide more sustainable options.
So I'll correct the statement about our stadium. It's the first LEED Platinum, not only LEED Platinum. So we're at the silver, just not silver, not gold, not 10 or whatever the other ones are. Platinum, top level. No, I'm just playing, but it's true. It is platinum. So you are correct about Health Science Center, and we aren't just big supporters of We Mean Green. We are, We Mean Green. It's a program that was created at UNT, our flagship in Denton, and it lives within what we call UNT world as a whole, which, as you know, is our med school in Fort Worth, and our campus and our headquarters in Dallas. So we've had a number. There's 4 buildings alone on UNT that are LEED certified. Our BLB, our Business Leadership Building, which is the Ryan College of Business, our Life Science Complex, our UNT Student Union, and our Environmental Science Building, which I think is appropriate because it's the Environmental Science Building. So there are always LEED goals and aspirations to all the buildings that we're going to build in the days ahead. Now, due to the pandemic and due to the budget crunches and the fact that commercial real estate is pretty cheap right now, I don't see many, I didn't say none, I don't see many new buildings being built in the next few years. The capital improvement plan has a few things, but none of them that I'm aware of are a must meet LEED per se. But I will stop and say I will have to get more information from our facilities teams specifically about if there's somebody, please reach out to me. If there's somebody who wants to know a specific upcoming project, what I will say is best value as a whole is the way we select our builders and our partners. And so best value includes sustainability. And so being a sustainable, being green, being LEED being LEED certified and having experience in that can only help your proposal to us. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's like you can read my mind on the next question, but it's, you know, trying to get a little bit more specific, and effectively being certified, right, is it helps your chances when you're bidding. So this next question really goes out to all of you, and you know, I'll just pull that thread, Greg, if you just go first. But are your organizations making efforts, like you just stated, to source ESG related options for procurement, or how does having a focus on ESG support a bid?
So great question. So we have a goal to be carbon neutral by 2040, and we have reps at each of the residence halls that is responsible, and that's going to expand to our food services halls as well. But we have reps at each of the residence halls that are responsible for making purchasing decisions, and or the procurement office makes the purchasing decision, but setting goals to increase that sustainability within the residence halls. So we're doing things like we're replacing all of the shower heads with low flow. We're updating the faucet aerators using top loading. They're replacing all the top loading machines with front loading. And there's just a list, you know, of 7 or 10 or 12 more things that are just like that. And so by having those goals, it drives us towards suppliers that can supply those green products, right? So, for example, if we're buying shower heads and you don't supply low flow, then we can't purchase from you, right? And so being mindful towards sustainability, it really increases your potential for doing business with us in the areas in which sustainability is important.
That's it, right? Because it makes it easier to hit and obtain your goals effectively, right? Bryant, you know, from a DISD perspective, same question. Happy to repeat it if you need.
Right. Well, and regarding our goals, yes, it's going to be helpful in not just the goals, but in terms of compliance, because this will be written into our policy before the end of the month that we will be adhering to CHIPS as well as LEED Silver standards in our construction. So that's just going to be a must, really.
But by the way, for everyone, for the audience, I'm not sure if you're all looking at the chats or not, but there is a wealth of knowledge being dropped around links and information on sourcing. So please check that out. Claribel, same question to you. Happy to repeat it if you need me to.
Well, Roshan, I can only talk about the hub goals within our agency, which is in regards to procurement. Okay, so right now I can talk to you about our goals that we met last fiscal year. We report to CPA on an annual and a yearly basis. So example for fiscal year 21, which ended in August 31st. We use woman-owned businesses. They were actually #1 in our hub category by ethnicity. They were used 20.83%, which is good. And of course, then the other categories will follow. For example, Hispanics, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and African Americans, they follow. Disabled veterans, they follow the woman-owned businesses within TCEQ. That's all I can speak about. With TCEQ, hub goals have been met, and our goals Hadifications will be the ethnicities. And again, the top #1 will be woman-owned. So we are always constantly trying to make sure that we meet those goals or exceed those goals in regards to our procurement contracts. And that's all I can really talk about, because that is my program, the historically underutilized program, the HUB program.
I understand. It's all part of sustainability. So it's important, and it's great to hear that you have and continue to achieve to meet your targets. So thank you. Just I know there's been some questions. I'll scroll up and catch them here in a minute in the chat. But the last question is I think I'm hoping to ask just generically for the audience, but how can businesses learn more about how to do business with you? I know that's why a lot of folks are here on this, listening into this panel. So we'll just kind of go backwards. Claribel, how about we just start with you, and then Bryant and Greg, and then we'll get into a Q&A.
Okay. With the state of Texas, all the contracts that are more than $25,000 or greater are posted on the Electronic State Business Daily, the ESBD. For example, if a vendor is trying to get some kind of business, lab services example, then they are able to look for that particular classification within the ESBD, or they can also look by the agency contract number. Okay, if they have the solicitation number, they can also do so. The good thing about the ESBD is it's not just TCEQ that is listed there. Any agency or university that has a solicitation that is $25,000 or greater will be posted there. The good thing about the ESBD also is you are able, as a vendor, look at the ones that have been awarded, and you can contact that person, the awardee, in contracts wording will be our prime, and do some networking. I always guide vendors that come to me asking that question, how can I get involved with TCEQ contracts? Well, we don't have a preferred list. We do not. However, you are able to go to the ESBD, click on the ones that have been awarded, and you are able to network with that prime. You are also able to look at the reporting that is posted at the CPA website, and you get to see those vendors that have been awarded as primes, and you can also see how much we have spent on any contracts that we have with them. You get to do networking by obtaining the company information, and then you can just go online, look for that company information, example, who is the POC, the point of contact, and you get to network. You can actually do one-on-one vendor meetings with, example, me as a hub program coordinator, or Greg as he's the manager for procurement and contracts, and also hub coordinator. So there are several hub coordinators around the state of Texas. They are willing to do one-on-one vendor meetings so they can obtain more information about your company, and we can forward that information to the staff internally at TCEQ who may need you in future contracts.
Wonderful, thank you. Bryant?
Yeah, well, it's not my area of expertise, but luckily Ms. Annie Partee from MWBE Dallas ISD is in the chat. So she's here to support me. And I would always refer everyone to dallasisd.org. The webpage for MWBE is very clear. The program's procedures are well outlined, and if Ms. If Ms. Partee has anything to add, she'll add it in the chat there.
I think that was one of the links that was chatted too. So just kind of reading back through the chat discussion. Greg, last question to you, and we'll get into the Q&A.
Yeah, so do me a favor. I listened so intently to their responses and got so engrossed in them. Let's make sure I don't miss anything. Would you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. It's just how can businesses, small and medium, learn more about how to do business with the UNT system?
Right. So I'm going to mirror what Claribel said. She is exactly right, except scratch out her name and put me in there, and then that's how you get a hold of me. But exactly what she said. It's important to attend events, and here's an example. Our friends who are hosting this call are very good at hosting events as well. And once people feel safe, I personally am all over the place, so I feel safe. But once we're safe and we're out and we're hugging necks and writing checks again, I highly recommend you to attend some of the USICOC events, because networking is the name of the game. Folks want to do business, and this is across the world. It's not just within our state. Folks want to do business with people with whom they've shaken hands or they've broken bread. So let's all get out once it's safe and just start to network. And I can't wait to meet you all.
That's twice now. Network. And thanks for the chamber for hosting this event and always being there for the members to make introductions. I agree. So with that, I am going to go through this really lively chat here real quick. I think the first question, if I missed your question above, please just re-chat it. There's a lot of activity in the chat window, but was from Manoj, and it was, the recycling facilities in the US have been hampered by the restrictions imposed by China. What are the new alternative ways in which institutions, public and private, are addressing this? I guess that question, it's directed at me. Okay. Interesting.
I'm glad.
There we go. All right. So that's an interesting question. I mean, we are looking at multiple different technologies. We'll just start generically. You're right. There are waste, specifically plastics, I think is really the heart of the question, and China specifically and other parts of Southeast Asia turning away our recycled goods or source separated plastics. And so, as a company, we are evaluating multiple different MSW or municipal solid waste diversion technologies, and then, creating streams that different technologies can plug into. So one of the interesting ones is pyrolysis, pyrolyzers are, effectively taking plastics and can convert it back into bio oils and a few other byproducts, around just organics diversion, which you got a big thumbs up from me, Bryant, something I'm super passionate about. Taking organic waste streams, and it's a very long known technology called anaerobic digestion. So we can effectively take all of that, divert it away from our landfills and put it into an anaerobic digester. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but, and by introducing effectively bugs into the system, you're creating methane within a tank and can catch that methane. And there's some really new, interesting, cool things, but happening with that syngas methane stream that we can take and upgrade to pipeline quality. So, the Atmos conversation when he was referring to the agriculture diversion, that plays right into it. So we're doing projects with cow manure, right? It's a massive pollutant methane producer, and capturing that manure and converting it to gas and putting that into the pipeline. So there's just a host of different technologies. We're also seeing gasification, still a little bit early. It's pyrolyzing is a stage of gasification. Sorry, I'll try to limit the engineer in me. I can get nerd out on this stuff. But that's another really interesting technology to create both gas streams and through some other science-based concepts through like Fischer-Tropsch and a few others, really interesting Googling, creating like synthetic fuels and biofuels, just some really interesting things happening in the market. So I hope that addresses your question, but it really does come down to, trying to find solutions. And this was addressed by Trammell as well. We have to try to make these profitable, right? So it's about the triple bottom line. And there are interesting things happening at the government level that's incentivizing these programs to implement this technology, as well as the goodwill, I think, in industry right now. So even voluntary carbon credits are an interesting market to just be watching, right? Every major Silicon Valley tech firm talking about buying carbon credit to help accelerate these technologies into market. So thank you. I just realized that was for me. All right, the next question. So Annie, I don't know how we get Annie to answer this question. Per the MWBE site, maximizing participation of minority and women-owned businesses in all phases of districts' purchasing and contracting activities. The question is, does MWBE provide any curriculum or business educational programming for DISD students? I'm not sure how Annie's going to answer that. Brian, is that something you can address?
I'm not sure about current curriculum. I do know that, yes, definitely we do address business in our curriculum, though. And in some cases, it's emphasized. I don't know that really, I believe we may even have an Office of Transformation school that is currently focusing on business practices. So that's possible.
Okay, thank you. Bear with me, there was a lot of chat activity. Okay, so from Susan to everyone, what kind of contract do you have outside of construction? For example, software development, legal services, etc. I'm not sure how you guys categorize these, but maybe Claribel, we start with you and we'll go to Greg and then Bryant. I believe you're
Okay. Yeah, I was. Okay, currently we have one IT, and I was going to look for it in the ESBD so that I can at least show you or say a little bit about what it's for. But while I look for that, our engineering services already have been awarded, and usually they're good for 4 years. They have been extended another year. Therefore, those are not out for bid. We do have an IT contract right now, and it's closing on September 13. It's called Data Acquisition System. The number for that solicitation, if you go look at the ESBD, I provided the link within the chat. It's 582, which is our agency number, 22, that's the fiscal year, and the solicitation number is 30073. So it's 582-22-30073. That one is the only IT service solicitation that is out there for bid. Again, it closes on September 13. We do not have a lot of contracts or solicitations at this time. There is one grant that is available, and that grant is 582-20-14416. It's called the Texas Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Program. And there is one for commodities. Again, these are more than $25,000 or greater. And that one is for modular furniture warehouse. And that is 582-22-30239A. I will provide these numbers in our chat so that you guys can provide it to your members.
Brian?
Yes, Annie went ahead and put the link in the chat there, so for opportunities, but I would remind everyone that in 2020, we had a bond passed, the voters passed a bond of $3.47 billion, not just for construction, but for IT and upgrades. So there are some opportunities there.
Thank you. Greg?
So I put our link in the chat to where you can get to all of our bids. And there's not a lot right now because we're rolling the fiscal year. So the fiscal year 21 funds have recently dried up, and now we're starting the fiscal year 22 as of September 1st. But so sort of to break it down, I would say if you can imagine that a college would buy it, a university would buy it, we buy it, right? And so we have a very decentralized procurement process right now where the campuses are allowed to, or the departments on the campuses are allowed to make the majority of the purchasing decision. So for items 15,000 or less, or for purchase orders of 15K or less, they have complete discretion. They need one quote. If it's 15 to 25K, we have to have 3 bids, 2 of which must come from hubs, are also known as MWBEs. And then for 25K or higher, it has to go out for bid. And we do list those on the ESBD per the statute. And we also list them on the website that I linked in the chat as well. So for DIR, for IT, I saw it in the chat specifically, we use almost exclusively the contracts negotiated through the state on the DIR, which is the Department of Information Resources, and they do contracts in a cooperative purchasing technique. They negotiate it statewide, and then state agencies and higher ed, et cetera, can buy off those contracts. There are exceptions to that, but I would say if it's IT, 95% of what we procure comes off the DIR. And I certainly can share the contact info for the team at the DIR. In fact, I'll put that in the chat here in a second. Oh, looks like somebody did for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess that's the problem going top down on the scrolling here. Sorry. And then just on the response, yes, I agree with the comment here in terms of, my response was heavy technical focus, but I think the overarching point really was it is a real opportunity for US-based businesses to provide solutions that pivot away from China, and that really is a huge opportunity. I'm sure we'll hear about it more with our keynote coming up and what even the federal government's looking at. Just making sure I don't miss any of the questions. Are there any future bonds that we should be looking out for? This is probably the last question. We're pushing right up on the hour. From Susan Phillips to everyone. I think that's the last question. I'm not sure if anyone has a response to that. I'll just leave the floor open and not direct it at any of you.
So I did mention the 2020 bond passage. Yeah, 3.4 billion. So that's Dallas ISD.
Awesome, thank you. Well, with that, I'll go ahead and I guess I'll hand it back to Susan or Neil.
Thanks so much, Roshan. Thank you, Bryant, Greg, and Claribel. I think, this is where the rubber really meets the road. We've been hearing all morning about sustainability and the importance of it and how large corporations are implementing their solutions. But I think your panel really is starting to bring home real opportunities in this area. And I was really excited to see both the contract and grant opportunities with each of your organizations and the leadership role that each of you is taking in driving sustainable change for businesses in our region. So we're very grateful to each of you and your organizations for everything that you're doing. And we appreciate your participation in today's panel. I think there's a lot for our members to chew on and figure out how they can start to pivot and engage with your organizations. And I think a lot of people are probably surprised, Claribel, to learn about even technology opportunities within sustainability. So I think there's really a lot to digest here. And Roshan, I want to thank you for your outstanding support of the Chamber and for your engagement with this particular conference. I know that we've spent some time ideating on how to put together a good program. And so we're grateful to you for moderating this particular panel and for your support of the Chamber as well. And thank you to all of you for your support of our Chamber.